Alright, what's going on everyone? Today, we're going to look at a Pauper deck. That's right, Pauper. I haven't played Pauper in over a year I think now. It's been pretty crazy. I just got kind of tired of the format because of blue-black. It just got tedious playing against it, like 30% of the time. But we're getting back into Pauper with ninjas and fairies. The first Pauper deck I've brewed in over a year. And look, it's blue-black. Yeah, we're joining the dark side. I've become what I despise. So anyway, with the recent release of Modern Horizons, it has given us a ton of really cool ninjas to play with in Pauper. So we're starting with Moonblade Shinobi, Mistblade Shinobi, and Ninja of the New Moon. Now what makes ninjas interesting is that they usually have an ability that triggers when they deal damage to a player. So the Moonblade Shinobi creates a 1/1 flying elemental token, and the Mistblade Shinobi bounces a creature. The problem is, ninjas are typically expensive in terms of their mana cost, and they're actually kind of clunky. They don't typically have evasion themselves, so they're kind of difficult to trigger except for the part where they have ninjutsu. Also, no, I won't debate with you about the pronunciation. I fully accept that I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I'm going to continue to pronounce it that way anyway. Right, so ninjutsu says that if you have an unblocked creature, you can pay the ninjutsu cost and replace the unblocked creature with a ninja from your hand. Well, the ninja that you pay the ninjutsu cost for. So they're honestly more like Trojan horses than stealthy ninjas, but whatever. The point is, they work really well with creatures that have evasion, so it only makes sense to pair them with things that have flying, like fairies. We'll be playing Fairy Seer, Fairy Miscreant, and Spellstutter Sprite. And the great thing about them is not only do they have flying so we can ninjutsu out our ninjas, but they have very useful enter the battlefield effects that we can double up on when we recast them. So the Seer lets us scry 2, the Miscreant lets us draw a card, and the Sprite can let us counter a spell if we have enough fairies. So think about it. If we play Spellstutter Sprite to counter a small spell, then the following turn we can attack with it, ninjutsu something out, like Moonblade Shinobi for example. It'll hit the opponent for 3, give us a token, and we will have our Spellstutter Sprite back in hand so we can counter another spell. Pretty cool, right? Ninjas and fairies actually work fairly well together. It also sometimes is a little bit less, elegant, and more just a brute force power move, such as with Ninja of the New Moon. It doesn't have a triggered ability, but that measly 1/1 fairy that's about to playfully peck the opponent's life total for 1 can suddenly become a 6 power battering ram. Plus it gives us our fairy back so we can scry again or counter a spell or draw a card, whatever. So it's nice. Another new card we're playing is Smoke Shroud. It's an aura that gives enchanted creature +1/+1 and flying. Then if it's in our graveyard, it'll come back in play attached to any ninja we cast. This is pretty fantastic because giving our ninjas flying means we can consistently trigger their combat abilities. Plus, there is no punishment to just slapping this onto anything we have in play, because if the creature dies, the aura will still come back attached to the next ninja we play anyway, so that's fine. Another cool thing is the way it interacts with ninjutsu. Let's say we have a Spellstutter Sprite in play, and we just threw a Smoke Shroud onto it, and then if we use ninjutsu, the Spellstutter Sprite will be returned to our hand, so that gives us a counter spell. The Smoke Shroud will go into the graveyard, and then immediately be returned and attached to the ninja we played to cause this to happen in the first place, which is kind of tricky. Another trick up our sleeve is Azra's Smoke Shaper. It has ninjutsu for 2, and when it enters the battlefield, we can give a creature indestructible. This is a combat trick that is very unlikely to ever be useful, but it does have the potential to be a blowout if we turn a 1/1 fairy into a 3 power ninja and make another creature that's being blocked indestructible. I doubt it'll happen often, but at worst, we get to have that surprise power up from ninjutsu. We get to get extra value out of our fairies from from recasting them, and every once in a while we might just have that absolute blowout play. So you know, it's kind of fun. A couple other creatures we'll be playing are Dali Horror and Stormbound Geist. Dali Horror is a 2-mana 2-power creature with Shadow, so it gives us a pretty good chance to get through for Ninjutsu if our opponent has flyers, and the Stormbound Geist is just another value engine. Not only can it eat multiple removal spells, but after it has a counter, after it's been killed once and has a +1/+1 counter from Undying, we can potentially use it for Ninjutsu, return it to our hand, and then recast it so it can soak up even more removal spells. That can be pretty useful against decks running cards like Chainer's Edict, for example. And speaking of Chainer's Edict, the only spells in the deck are Counterspell, Chainer's Edict, and Agony Warp. We are a very creature focused deck, but we are in Dimir colors, so we are obviously going to be playing some removal. Counterspell is universally useful, Chainer's Edict is great if a game goes long, and Agony Warp can help clear the board of flyers so it can get damage through to trigger Ninjutsu. It's also kind of tricky because it technically kills a creature with toughness 3 or less, basically, but you can also do some tricky stuff where you use it to kill one creature and give another creature -3, -0 or something like that. So yeah, it's kind of cool. And that's the deck. Taking a quick look at the mana base, we'll be playing Dismal Backwater, which is a dual land that comes into play tapped but gains a life to make up for it. Barrenmoor and Lonely Sandbar also come into play tapped, but we can cycle them if we're flooded, so that's pretty useful. And then we'll be playing a pile of basics because it's Pauper. And then taking a super quick look at the sideboard, we'll be playing Chainer's Edict for grindy games, Soul Reap for troublesome creatures, and Shrivel as a board sweeper against decks like elves and whatnot. We'll also be playing Spell Pierce, Annul, and Dispel, so we can optimize our counterspell package based on whatever our opponent is playing. We also have another Stormbound Geist for decks with lots of removal, and Thornwind Faeries, which can actually cause problems for decks that run a lot of small creatures. Being able to just tap, deal 1 damage to anything at any time can be useful against certain decks. And then finally we'll be playing Nihil Spell Bombs for graveyards just in case. And that's the deck. That is Ninjas and Fairies. I highly doubt it's the most optimized ninja deck ever. From what I hear, the blue-white variant is pretty solid, but I thought this was kind of cool and decided to just run with it. It's hard to say how well it will perform because I haven't logged a ton of games with this, and I haven't played Pauper in ages. Nevertheless, I will be playing 5 matches with it in the tournament practice room on Magic Online. So we'll see how this deck goes. If you want to see how this deck performs, you know, check the description. There should be a playlist with all of the games, and if you're watching this shortly after the video is released, then they will be coming out over the next few days. But in the meantime, thanks for watching everyone, and I will see you in the first match.